What if you could find brand new worlds right here on Earth, where anything is possible? Same planet, different dimension. I found the gateway.
The Rewatch podcast presents the Sliders Rewatch, dedicated to the series Sliders on Fox and Sci-Fi Channel. Join us each week as we continue crossing the Einstein-Rosen-Podolsky Bridge and find ourselves in strange new worlds. Email your thoughts on each episode to the rewatchpodcast@gmail.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast or on Twitter @rewatchpod.
And welcome back to the Rewatch podcast and our Sliders Rewatch. I'm Cory.
And I'm finer than frog hair split 4 ways. Sorry, it's catching.
Whatever that means.
I looked up like Southern Old West sayings, and that was one I was like, oh, that'll work.
That worked. Okay, well, thank you for joining us, everybody. We are here discussing 2 more episodes of Sliders. This week it is Data World and Way Out West.
Yeah, Data World's the one with the Next Generation crossover, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or it's last week's episode of... What was last week's episode? Network.
Yeah, exactly. They don't imprint on you these days. You know, these episodes.
So yeah, well, let's go ahead and find out what Data World is about.
Yep.
Because that is episode 1 today, written by Joel Metzger and directed by Jerry O'Connell. And this originally aired on March 19th of 1999.
How do we get in here?
Through the door, I guess.
Well, did you open it?
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Chandler Resort Spa. My name is Archibald Chandler, founder, owner, manager.
Wait a minute, all of those hotels, I never knew that there was a Chandler.
We love a room for the night. We're just passing through.
Oh, your usual suite is ready for you. And as for just passing through, well, we shall see.
Our usual suite?
1215, Mr. Brown, you'll find your minibars stocked with your favorite soda. Miss Beckett, I'm sure you'll appreciate the wardrobe that's been selected for you. It's all in your suite. And there is a full array of athletic activities and complete equipment so that you, Mr. Mallory, and your brother should have no trouble in staying in peak condition.
Wait a minute, how do you know us?
Oh, my hotel is a very sophisticated computer system.
This is all fine and dandy, but we're just a little short on cash. If we could just get a simple room.
No, I wouldn't hear of it. Besides, your cash is no good here.
You mean everything's free?
Nothing in life is free, Miss Beckett. But there's no charge for your room and service in this hotel, at least not in the traditional sense. Now, here's a copy of the schedule of the week's activities, and on the back you will find a list of our rules and regulations. Well, we can't run a hotel without rules and regulations, now can we? Enjoy your stay at the Chandler.
Thank you.
Our sliders arrive in a dimension where people are wandering around them zombie-like, paying no attention to them or their surroundings. Our group heads to the Chandler, and upon approaching the doors, suddenly find themselves instantly transported inside, face to face with the owner of the hotel himself, Archibald Chandler. Quinson figures out that they are not, in fact, really in the hotel, but are instead mere avatars of their physical bodies, having been digitally scanned when they approach the doors, their physical bodies wandering aimlessly outside the hotel. Now that they are mere avatars in this place, they are under the control of the owner and creator of the hotel, Archibald Chandler, who controls this world inside the hotel via a computer keypad. Indeed, any attempts to escape are futile, as Chandler is able to reconfigure doors to open anywhere he wants, always rerouting our team back to the hotel bar. Eventually, the Sliders meet Mac, an avatar that lives in the deleted files storage area of the hotel, trying to stay out of Chandler's way. He hooks them up with a keypad of his own devising, and they bring the fight to Chandler, who recreates two of his digital employees as warriors. A battle ensues, and in the end, Quinn manages to use Mac's computer to delete all of the stored avatars in the Chandler hotel, returning them to their physical bodies wandering outside, except for Chandler himself, who destroyed his physical body long ago and thus is now permanently erased from existence.
Well, can you make it work?
I think so. Mr. Chandler loves his little rules and regulations. Let's see if I can make some changes. All right, Colin, what do they say now?
All men must wear bow ties. Blue eyeshadow is required. Woo! Everyone must sing in public places. Give it a shot, Remy.
Hey, yeah, Rem, come on.
No way.
Come on, Remy.
Come on, Rembrandt.
All right, all right. I'm sinking in an ocean of tears. Not bad, huh? And I feel like I've been sinking for years. Take that, Mr. Chandler.
Yes. All right, guys, we've got 4 hours to figure out a way out of here and time to slide.
None of you is going anywhere.
What's happening?
I don't know. I'm stuck. I can't move my feet.
I see my little friend Mac has been in touch with you.
He was only trying to help us.
Mac is a troublemaker, but he's fairly harmless. I let him roam through the junk files simply because it amuses me.
Okay, so iReactions has hooked us up with a fair bit of trivia.
Yep, once again, this comes from conversations with Temporal Flux and from Dimension of Continuity he runs over there. The Scream references that Jerry had in the episode were not in the script, but ad-libbed by him because he, of course, was in, was it the second movie he was in?
Yeah, he was in Scream too.
Right, so throwing those in, you know, a little nice touch. Originally, there wasn't supposed to be, there was supposed to be a concierge in the Chandler Hotel named Windsor. And he was going to deliver a lot of the lines throughout the whole episode that Chandler had himself. So I guess eventually maybe they thought, well, we don't really need this character. Let's just get right to it, you know, with the big guy himself. And they just gave the lines to Chandler instead of Windsor. But throughout the whole script, Windsor was supposed to be another person that they dealt with. Like later on, Windsor is one of the people that becomes the warrior, you know, to fight the Sliders near the end. Windsor was going to be that guy. So they just got rid of his character, gave the lines to Chandler.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea. You don't want to have too many, you know.
Exactly. Why do you need so many guest stars of the week?
Yeah. Let's see. In the script, and I'm glad they got rid of this because this sounds more like season 1 Remy here. Remy said in the episode, he says, "What in the devil's going on?" But in the script, he said, "What in the name of James Brown is going on?" Sounds a little too much like season 1 Remy, I think.
Yeah.
It doesn't really fit him anymore. He's a different character these days. There was a weird missing scene. Well, not really maybe a missing scene, but maybe some extra lines about an Argentina lecture as one of the activities you can do in the Chandler Hotel. And Colin says something like, "Oh, I've always wanted to go to Argentina." And I'm like, what does that... I don't know if that references like an in-joke or something, but it was just a strange thing to have in there that they cut. It's like, it's weird. I don't know. Why does David Beckham do anything, you know? Chandler doesn't give binoculars to Quinn. When they're up on the roof, he's just able to see his empty walking around without the binoculars. There's a conversation which was kind of neat where Quinn says to Chandler that utopia doesn't exist, you know, it's all fiction. Chaos always finds a way in because you're only human. This is what happens. And Chandler says, "Nah, I'm not really human." You know, that's when they find out that he's, you know, just a digital avatar. In reference to the chess game where Quinn goes off to have play chess with Chandler, Colin was getting very upset. He was like, "How can you go play chess with him? He just killed Maggie." But he didn't. In the final version, Colin realizes that Quinn has a plan. You know, he's going to Chandler for a reason. But in the original script, he didn't. He was played more of like like the way he's been played, sort of like not knowing, innocent. You know, so he didn't get. Yeah, exactly. That's the word I'm looking for. So Mac, the little guy in the deleted files storage area. In the original story, there was going to be a little bit subplot with his him having a wife. He had a wife, Celia, that was deleted by Chandler. The two of them had come into the Chandler to try to take it down. Celia was some kind of computer programmer and had written a virus program to bring them to the hotel, but they took on Chandler and they lost, and she became deleted. And eventually, at the end, when Quinn breaks everyone out of the hotel, Celia would be reunited with Mac. Probably just got a little bit convoluted, maybe, with the extra subplot.
Too much time.
Yeah. Maggie was going to stay in Remy's body for the rest of the episode until they broke out to the very end. So it would have had some more comical moments, I'm sure, with Maggie being inside of Remy's body.
Kerry West still needs to make her salary.
Well, exactly.
And be on screen.
And the fight that they had near the end was supposed to be a lot more like Mortal Kombat than what it turned out to be. So it was supposed to be more like the actual video game with specific like stances and attack moves, like not what we saw. More video game like is what we were supposed to see. And then at the end, Quinn and Chandler, they're supposed to be typing, real fast on the keyboard again, trying to fight against each other. And Quinn says something about he needs to break the link. And then once he does that, the empties that are outside, they'll get filled up with what we had inside the hotel with the avatars or whatever. The scanning will go back to the empties outside. And he tells Mac that includes your wife, even though she was deleted. Once I destroy this whole thing, her leftover files, wherever she is, will end up going back to her out there. So she's out there somewhere, and you'll be reunited.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, I think we might just have enough time to do a quick impression.
I think we do. Okay.
All right. Cue the music.
Arturo, Alan Rickman, and a 1940s mobster walk into a bar. I could really use a drink. The bartender, a hick, approaches. Your usuals?
You know what we want?
Well, of course. Maybe you've been here before?
No, I've been thinking about that, see? And I think we would remember having met Mr. Chandler. Okay, here are the rules. Proper dress and decorum in all public places. No belts with suspenders. No bow ties. No hats. Pretty specific dress code, No bouffant hairdos for the ladies.
Fine with me.
No blue eyeshadow.
What? Okay, these aren't rules. These are pet peeves. What kind of place is this?
And scene.
I like the Alan Rickman.
Laying out the rules.
Something wrong, Mr. Mallory?
No, I'm fine.
I was curious about something you have. It appears to be a timing device of some sort.
How did you know that?
Oh, I already know a great deal about you and your friends. And of course, the longer you stay here, the more time I shall have to learn even more.
What's wrong with my brother?
He's starting to look a little queasy.
It's bound to happen. Chandler's getting into his mind.
Thanks to you, my timer is no good to anyone. Like everything else in this world, it's a useless digital representation.
I'm intrigued by its design. It seems capable of producing a gravitational rift. Perhaps a rift powerful enough to create and function as a gateway. Where does it go? Quinn? Another star system? Another universe, perhaps?
What we do, what we used to do, it's called sliding. And it is something that you will never, ever be able to do as long as you exist only as data.
Now, that's where you're wrong, Mr. Mallory. You see, I can explore those worlds through you. I'm downloading your memory, Mr. Melbury.
All right, so let's get into our discussion of Data World. Okay, so they come out of the vortex into, again, what is pretty much a deserted world.
Yes.
On this
they
backlot.
really get their money's worth out of this set.
And Remy's having a tantrum about being kicked by a cow or something.
Yeah, but they don't make it seem like a cow at first, do they? You know, they're like, well, you shouldn't have squeezed him so hard. You know, it's like, oh, okay. And then they say, oh, this is what happens when you do that to a cow or whatever. Yeah, it was a little comical beginning, I guess.
A little back and forth. Colin notices stuff about milking cows, I guess. But they find, eventually, a bunch of just people walking around like zombies. Not really attacking anybody, just looking all weird. So, of course, they go with the plan and they head to the Chandler. And, of course, this is where we get that funny Wes Craven Scream 3 reference from Remy.
Right.
Which I kind of thought was funny. You know, they kind of set up a few episodes back that, you know, sometimes they'll just go and catch a movie or something.
Right.
Was that you're doing it? I think we were talking about how, like, they saw a movie and, like, the billboard had different actors and stuff on it. So
right.
It makes sense that I guess they caught the Scream movies at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe Jerry O'Connell wasn't in the Scream movies in the version they saw.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that Jerry guy really looks like Quinn, doesn't he?
Exactly.
And they get, quote-unquote, downloaded into the Chandler. Now, do you think they maybe play their hand a bit too early here?
By revealing it?
Yeah, you know, they kind of have this weird graphic of the download and then show the Sliders waking up on the street. So, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, now that you bring it up, maybe they could have let it go a little bit longer, you know, and like just have more of the mystery of what exactly is going on. Because, yeah, it makes it pretty clear right away, you know, well, they're in there and they're out here. So you either wonder, are they copies? You know, is that, and are they, like you said, downloaded in there? Yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with it. Maybe it would have made it a little bit better if they had stretched it out, but yeah, I'm okay with the way they did it.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of that virtual reality.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
that we went to. I kind of think that, because, you know, I think I said back in that episode too that they kind of play that a bit early as well, like showing Maggie being captured and strapped down to the bed and having the VR put on her.
See, with that one, I think I got this one a lot quicker than I got that one. Like that one, I was still trying to figure out what's going on. But with this one, right away, I was like, oh, okay, I think I get it.
Maybe it was just showing them out on the street that kind of threw me a bit, you know, just
right.
Releasing that part of it. I get, like, they're downloaded into it. It's got a pretty cool visual of them appearing in the lobby there, but just cutting to them on the street kind of just threw me off a bit. Maybe they could have held on to that just, you know, until that scene where Quinn sees his empty, quote-unquote, out on the street.
Yeah, when he sees his empty, they don't exactly zoom in pretty close, do they? It was a pretty far-off shot.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing that, you know, he could see his empty from the street.
Mm-hmm.
If they exist in this digital world. And I know that Chandler was like, you know, oh, you see what I want you to see, and this is what's happening, but, you know, can you trust him at the same time? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, maybe if they had played, like, maybe if they've done that scene where they zoomed in, like, really close to Quinn, and then he looked over, and then he saw, you know, Maggie, and then he saw Remy, because it was kind of a quick scene, because we already know that they are awake and walking around outside. So, yeah, maybe that would have been better if they had waited until then.
But, you know, they quickly get into it, and we meet Archibald Chandler. I think this was cool, you know, kind of just tying in that there's a real Chandler, or possibly not a real Chandler. I don't know. He also does talk about how he was downloaded into it, but he sort of got rid of his human body on the outside, but can you trust that? Is he just a computer program? They kind of leave that ambiguous. I like that.
Well, here's the thing. Now, originally this was supposed to be not what it turned out to be. Like we said in the deleted scenes, that fight was supposed to be more like Mortal Kombat. This whole episode was supposed to be more of a statement on video games. And it just wasn't... The way it turned out was not exactly the way they had originally hoped. I don't know if that was because of like budget and they couldn't realize more video game CGI or something. I don't know what it was, but it didn't turn out the way they had thought. I like the way it started. I like the idea that this is all digital representation, but I don't think it went fully where it could have went. It just seemed like, I don't know, it seemed to be lacking a lot of what I thought could have happened in this episode. There was something missing for me.
Well, and at the same time, it kind of feels like they're expanding on ideas that they've already had.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
we were talking about last week during Net Worth about how the parents had the digijobs.
Yeah.
And in the deleted scenes, we were talking about how, you know, they had to come up with this thing of having virtual vacations and stuff like that, you know, perfect vacations with no tourists, no sunbathers.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like they've had this idea in this episode, so let's just expand upon that idea in this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, it kind of just, yeah, it feels like they're really stretching for ideas on Sliders at the moment.
And like, why, like, Chandler has this hotel, like, why does this hotel exist? Like, what was the reason for this hotel? Is it the only one of its kind? Or are there many of these out there? Because it seems odd that this would be a place like the only one of its kind, and then these people are just wandering around outside and no one cares about them. Like, where are the other people in this world? We didn't get all history, so we don't know what happened to everyone else. But like, the people just wandering around, and people who aren't in the hotel, are they empties as well because their bodies or their minds are elsewhere downloaded? You know, we don't know.
Yeah, did everybody in the world get downloaded into the Chandler Hotel?
Right, exactly. Because it doesn't seem like they would have.
Yeah, and it would not to mention, like, how long have they been in there?
Yeah.
Like, would their empties just eventually waste away and die? Like, a body still needs food,
Well,
sustenance,
exactly.
sleep,
Yeah, they're not.
whatever.
Yeah, they're not eating or anything. So yeah.
Yeah, so when they get downloaded back into their bodies, what happens if their body has been killed or something like that? What if a wild animal came in and mauled you to death or something? I don't know. It really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like a neat little idea, but they didn't explore it enough. Like, they didn't really flesh it out as well as they should have.
Yeah, it would make more sense if they would just, like, stasis pods or something like that. Like, they fall into a stasis pod and get caught or something. You know, rather than the body just walking around aimlessly outside.
Yeah, like, maybe this is like some kind of way to, you know, like, you know, if you're going on a long, like in sci-fi movies, if you're going on a long voyage, you go into stasis but you keep your mind active with something. Maybe that, you know, if this was something like that, you know, where there was a reason why they were in the hotel. Instead, we just have this guy who said, I just want to download myself into this, you know, computer program and make it a perfect world, and I'll bring a whole bunch of people that I don't even know with me.
Exactly. It's very strange. But, yeah, Chandler does turn out to be this big, like, overlord of the Chandler. And he's got, like, very specific rules about what you wear, what you do. And if you break those rules, then he's got all the power to shut you off. And that's represented at the beginning by Remy singing, because he has perfect pitch and he needs to prove it, and then he gets cut off in this weird digital, like a CD skipping or something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was done pretty well. I like that effect.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you know, Remy's like, oh man, it's like I got a frog in my throat or something like that. It felt like someone was choking me or something. I'm like, dude, you sounded like a CD skipping. Like, you think
Has it ever happened to you before?
Bells ringing, maybe? Yeah, so, you know, they need to find out what's going on. So pretty much the only way they can do that is to get closer to Mr. Chandler. And he lays things out pretty well for Quinn.
Yeah.
You know, they start running around. They start getting onto it all. And, you know, they do some great camera trickery of, like, walking through doors and then coming out the other side back into the lobby. You know, I think all that kind of was set up pretty well. And, and then they get all the information from Chandler about, you know, the digital world that they're in.
Right.
And then they meet up with this little guy, Mac.
Who, by the way, was the bounty hunter from Into the Mystic.
Right, he was too.
Which... there was a conversation that I guess iReactions had with Matt Utaf, by the way. It's not Hutaf like we've been saying, Utaf. And there was another person, was it Mike something? Anyway, he sent us this conversation that they had about that, and they said something about how, you know, Mac is no more the bounty hunter than this guy was this guy. They just have recasting. You know, they play around with the casting a lot. You know, he says Mac is no more the bounty hunter than Roy Daltrey is both Digital Chandler and the Seer, coming in a later episode. Right. There's a lot of casting license, you know. But, like, what I say is, you know, like, on all these worlds, you know, you're going to meet other people that are doubles, And why not just put a little something in there that sort of references the other worlds, just for the fans, just for the fans, show that there's some more continuity, that they remember what happened before. Because I like the idea that, we had the bounty hunter from that episode, and now we have Mac, who he's not a bounty hunter, but he did go with his wife originally into the Chandler to take him down. So he's kind of in a similar line of work. I think it would fit if they had sort of referenced, that other world.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be over the top. Just a quick reference to see if you're paying attention.
Exactly.
It's much appreciated for these genre sci-fi shows.
Exactly.
But it seems, of course, that some people on staff aren't interested in giving that to you.
No.
Unfortunately. But, I think it was a good setup with Mac, him hiding out in the junk directory and sort of... as this renegade hacker type, going up against Chandler.
Right.
Quinn messes with the code for a bit as well in order to change the rules.
Yes.
Which I thought was pretty good. We get to hear Remy singing again.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, Maggie's like really happy that she can wear blue eyeshadow.
I know, seriously. But whatever, Mackie.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But it was great to hear Remy sing it again. Anytime Clavant has the inclination to go ahead and sing something, I'm loving it.
Right.
This time it was, drowning in an ocean of tears or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Pretty funny. But, of course, like, after that happens, Chandler just immediately shows up and exerts his power.
Yeah.
And just deletes Maggie.
Yep.
Now, did you have any thought that Maggie would be dead or... not coming back?
Of course not. She's got their money makers, so she's going to be, she'll be on there for a long time. But what I was wondering was, like, when he deletes them, that's not the same thing as, I guess, escaping the Chandler, because she didn't immediately appear in her body outside. She's just deleted in the deleted files section, I suppose.
Yeah.
I thought when he deleted her, that she would appear outside originally. I thought, oh, well, now she's going to be outside, and she has to find a way in to save him. But no, that's not what happened.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could argue, like, why wouldn't Chandler just, like, send them out?
Yes.
And back into their own body, but that does mean that they're now outside the Chandler and they could do something to jeopardize the building itself.
Right, true.
But, well, at the end of the episode, once they're in their bodies, they kind of, don't remember what happened.
Yeah.
They kind of seem a bit groggy, so I don't know.
Yeah, that was weird too. Like, why didn't they remember? Because their minds were in the Chandler, basically. I don't know. I'm not sure of the science behind it, but I'm not sure if there is much science behind it, but
Yeah. But, we get some good scenes, as Quinn goes off to distract Chandler, and they have this game of chess. They talk about some great chess players and then discuss the theory of utopia.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought their back and forth was pretty good. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, there's got to be a reason why, besides wanting utopia, that Chandler made this place. Maybe if we had a little backstory with him, I don't know, suffering like a great tragedy in his personal life, and that's why he decided to create something that he could totally control. Like, that's why he made this place, and anyone who comes near, they become a part of his own version of utopia. Like, he's just a control freak. I would have liked some more backstory.
Yeah. As it is, he kind of, like, just relates it to arriving at the New World, Cortez.
Yeah.
And burning his ships in order to inspire his men to, make it work. Because there's no way back. So you're like,
Like, I never thought that this was, like, a worldwide thing that he did. And, like, it's not quite the same thing as, Cortez.
Exactly. But, of course, Remy and Colin go off with Mac to find Maggie. She's probably in the recently deleted files.
Mm-hmm.
And they find her on a disc in a box with this great graphic that sort of, like, reflects her face.
It's very much like Superman, where they put the criminals in the Phantom Zone in the Christopher Reeve movies. Yeah.
And they sort of rebuild her, but Chandler, like, hacks them at the same time or something.
Yes.
I don't know.
Wires are crossed.
Yeah, and she comes out looking like Remy.
Yes.
And, I thought this moment was pretty good. I liked Clavant, with Maggie's voice. I thought he did, like, a good job of sort of doing it, and then her inflections as well.
Well, there was a lot of like, I guess I don't know if they tape these and if they still have them somewhere, but like they obviously weren't on the deleted scenes, the discs or anything like that. But I guess Clavant had some fun with Kari being in his body. Like he started making jokes, like grabbing his breasts, while he was pretending to be Maggie, or he looked down, he'd be like, I'm black, like he was, he was having some good fun with it, and she took it all in good fun. I guess what we're told from a dimension of continuity, temporal flux there, is that they kind of had a strained relationship, Clavant and Kari, in season 3, which makes sense because this was a big upset, when she came on. So yeah, they had a bit of a strained relationship in season 3, but they got much closer in season 4. They got along much better. And you could see that, in how they act, and, obviously here, with him joking with her and she just taking it all, They mentioned that, Clavant he was that type of person that sees the good in people. So he, even though it was a rough thing when she came on and we lost John Rhys Davies, he could see the good in Kari. Clavant saw the good in Peckinpah, which, I mean, there you go. Right there, you could tell what kind of guy Clavant is, And we got a little information on Kari and her, like I said earlier, her implants. She had those implants. That's what she got her all these jobs, basically. People were offering her jobs based on her looks because of her boobs, and she got them because her music. She was originally going to be a singer. That was the deal with Kari. She wanted to be a singer, and her music producer told her that she needed to get them for her image. Never mind about her voice. That didn't matter. But if you get these things, we're going to be able to do something with you, So, she got them and everything. But eventually she, got rid of the music producer and all that and went a different way, went towards acting. But yeah, she had a lot of problems with those over the years. Eventually she ends up removing them because there's just a bunch of health issues that she was having with them. So eventually she looks like she's different today than she was back then because of removing those. But yeah, there was just a little bit of the information that they gave us about her and why she was so jealous of Sabrina Lloyd, because, that's Sabrina Lloyd's gone. She was jealous of Sabrina because she got respect as an actress, whereas, Kari was getting these jobs for her body. So there was a little animosity there between the two of them. But yeah, just some neat information there about Kari War that I didn't know, myself.
Interesting. So these actually come from interviews over on Dimension of Continuity.
Yeah, conversations that they've had with different people, I guess, as well.
Yeah, good. So, listeners, head on over there. Check out some of these interviews.
Neat stuff for behind the scenes. When you see them having a good time or you see certain things they do in the episode, and, this gives you a little bit more insight, a little backstory to it. Kind of neat.
I do like it. And, and you can see it, they did have a good back and forth, What's the matter, Remy? You got some secrets? Oh, just
exactly.
keep your hands off yourself.
Exactly, yeah. No, it was good, it's good.
It was a lot of fun. So, of course they get back Maggie. Naturally, Chandler's not happy about it, so he takes the barman and one of the waitresses and turns them into Thor and Frigga. And, Colin, Quinn, and Remy face off against Thor, and Mac's there sort of giving them, karate moves and stuff. Colin's there doing the full, like, I know. And then, of course, Maggie faces off against Frigga by herself in the sexiest way possible. So
this whole thing was just weird. Like, first of all, Maggie would never have run off to the side with Mac and let the boys handle things. She would have been right there in the front fighting along with them.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, Mac just taking her hand and, like, pulling her to safety or something. And you're like, what? Maggie doesn't need no safety.
Exactly. This girl don't need no saving. Maggie, if any character, she's not a damsel in distress. She's going to be right in there fighting, tooth and nail. So I thought that was weird that she just hangs out on the side there, huddled over in the corner, like, oh, please don't hurt him. Watch out, Quinn. It was like, come on, really? And then, like, this is, like, there's a lot of things in the episode. It's like, really, but this is where they really started to come really quick for me. I was like, I was thinking like, okay, really, ham? You couldn't tell, Mac, you couldn't tell that he was going to say hammer. You gave him a ham. Who in their right mind would want a ham?
It was a weird line delivery where he was like, ham, mer. Right. And then he has a ham, and Mac's like, I only heard ham. And I'm like, what? Like, that was just the most ridiculous setup just to get a ham into Remy's hands.
Yes, weird. Exactly. Like, it would have been better if there had been, like, he'd been trying to type hammer and Chandler did some kind of glitch or something and he was only able to enter H-A-M. Right. That made much more sense and been a lot more ridiculous. And then, of course, like you said, Maggie goes out to fight Frigga and Mac's like, no, wait, not yet. Let me put you in a scantily clad little, fur bikini. Now, go fight now. Oh yeah, this is good stuff. What do you think, boys? Oh, yeah. Even did you notice that even Remy, like, he laughs, like, after she gets into the outfit, he turns to the side, he like chuckles, like, it's like, this is not, you guys are fighting for your life, remember?
Yeah, exactly. We're not just gathered around to watch some softcore porn here.
I know.
Just kill this chick who's trying to kill us.
Yes. Well, like I said, I think if they had done it in the way, like, because, a video game would have a woman dressed like that. And, like, when Frigga comes out and she does all these, like, freaking acrobatics, before she fights, she does these acrobatics. It's like, that's part of video games, because when the characters come out, they show off their move real quick, like in Mortal Kombat, and then you go to fight. So if they had really, realized the whole, premise here, it probably would have been a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it last week about net worth, that the big movie of 1999 is The Matrix. I mean, it's coming. I reckon they know it's coming, so that's why they're doing this. And sure, this kind of idea was done in The Matrix. You got the people on the outside, and they're giving you guns and whatever.
Right.
But, it was just done so much better in The Matrix. Your avatar looks the way you want it to look. So, why couldn't it have just been that, Yeah. Maggie steps up and suddenly she's a badass fighter and she's got the costume and stuff. And, it plays out like a Mortal Kombat or something like that. Mm-hmm. Instead, it just gets all convoluted. And, Chandler could have just deleted Mac at any time.
Yes.
He just drops this line early on about, like, I let him do all this stuff because it amuses me. He may as well just been twirling his mustache while he's doing it.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, whatever. And, of course, Quinn just manages to upload everybody back into their empties, leaving the Chandler behind. And, like we said, they just wake up and they don't remember anything. They kind of say, oh, did you have a weird dream just now? Oh,
yes.
Oh, well, it's only 7 seconds to the slide. Let's go.
Yeah. Again, it's just awkward. It's an awkward resolution. That's all.
Yeah. And, Mac showing up as well. Like, he's looking at the vortex and he's like, where do I know those guys? Yeah. I kind of wish that wasn't there either.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's all well and good to have resolution for the character, but at the same time, I was kind of thinking, like, maybe Chandler made him look like that. Not to put down, like, little people or anything, to say that they're, malformed or anything.
Well, yeah.
I'm not trying to offend anybody, but, if, like, Chandler was trying to get amusement out of it, then sure, make him... make his avatar into a little man or something like that, just to sort of build up that amusement for him. But whatever. It kind of, we've been getting a lot of these filler episodes here.
Yeah.
For the last few weeks, and this one's maybe just on the lower end scale of it.
Well, it's like they all have like pretty neat ideas, but then they just don't realize them fully, and then it falls flat. Like if they just took more time with it, and really tried to explore what makes, what is the real good thing behind that idea, like what really makes it work, then, it would be so much better. But it's just everything, the episodes fall flat near the end because of that.
But, I do have to give props to the actor who played Chandler. You know, he was quite menacing. He was a pretty good actor. And the actor who played Mac, you know, I think he did a terrific job in the role. So, you know, the performances weren't bad. It was just the story that let them down. And then, of course, the way it ended, too, was just bleh.
Now, do you know the actor who played Chandler?
No.
Like they said earlier, Roy Doltrus is his name, but he was in the series Beauty and the Beast with Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman. He played father in there. And I bring that up because originally, now this didn't actually happen because of a casting change. Originally in Beauty and the Beast, Armin Shimmerman was in Beauty and the Beast, you know, Quark from Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Armin Shimmerman was supposed to also be in the episode Slide Cage, where we meet Thomas. Armin Shimmerman was supposed to have played Thomas originally.
Okay.
So we get another tie-in there with the whole Beauty and the Beast thing. I just thought that was interesting.
And interestingly, didn't that Thomas character reference Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, he
TV
did?
show?
That's right. Yes, he did. Yep.
So maybe that was a line that was written when they thought they were going to get him in. And then it just remained afterwards.
There you go. Yep.
Interesting tie around there.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I used to love that show, that Beauty and the Beast show. I used to watch that.
Nice.
I mean, it's not exactly a young man's type of TV show. It's more like a romance thing. But I don't know. I liked it. I like Linda Hamilton. What can I say?
I do like Linda Hamilton.
Yeah.
And now it's time for another episode of Yes Ma'am with Maggie Beckett.
I wanna see you sweat, I wanna see you grind, I wanna make you mine, I'm losing my mind. Walk across the floor in those tight pants. Will you bust a seam when you do that dance, baby? Tight pants.
This has been another episode of Yes Ma'am with Maggie Beckett.
All right, well, let's get into our second episode discussion today. The episode is Way Out West.
Yeah.
We have a teleplay by Chris Black with story by Jerry O'Connell and directed by David Peckinpah. This originally aired on March 26th of 1999.
Hello. Howdy. Do you think you could give us a ride to town?
Maybe it's a mirage.
What in the name of Samuel C. Colt are y'all doing out here? It's hot enough to burn the blueberries off a Brahma bull.
Very colorful mirage.
We got separated from our wagon train. One of our horses got snake bit, and the rest of them ran off because my friend here forgot to hobble them.
Well, why didn't you say so? Go on, get aboard before you fry your free holies. Two of you better get up here on top, because we ain't got a lot of room back there.
Hey, bro, where'd you come up with that story?
Happened to me once. Prom night.
The Sliders land in a world stuck in the Old West time period, and while on their way into town, our group is attacked by a one Mr. K and his associates when Colin is injured and thrown from their stagecoach. He's picked up by a local girl, Ellie, and her mother, who tend to his wounds and explain how Mr. K killed her husband and has been trying to threaten them off their land. Meanwhile, Quinn and Remy manage to acquire horses to go search for Colin, while Maggie gets employment as a singer in the local saloon. Maggie runs into Mr. K and realizes he is actually an old Cro-Mag opponent, Kolatar, who bounced here after Quinn jury-rigged the slide cage and made a life for himself as a ruthless outlaw. She learns that the sheriff is in league with Mr. K and Ben Bugsy Siegel to get the local folk off their land and turn it into a gambling paradise called Las Vegas. Later, Mr. K tries to bully Ellie and her mother out of their land deed, but Colin intervenes, shooting two of his men and driving Mr. K away for the moment. Unfortunately, Mr. K recognizes Colin and realizes the Sliders are here, mistakenly believing they are after him. He poses at Quinn and frames him for murder, causing Quinn and Remy to be arrested while Maggie escapes. She manages to get help from Ben Siegel, who has decided to pull out of the deal after discovering the sheriff and Mr. K's tactics to get the land. Ellie goes to town to face off Mr. K, but fails. Quinn and Remy are forced upon the gallows, and as they are dropped and hanging, Colin arrives and shoots their ropes, saving them from death. A showdown starts between Mr. K and Colin in an attempt to win the timer, but Colin is the faster draw and manages to kill Kolatar. The Sliders expose the sheriff and pave the way for Ben to start up Las Vegas, who offers the landowners part of the casino profits.
I'd lie still if I were you.
Where am I?
You're on a ranch. Found you out by Jog and Wash.
You're just a boy.
I'm not. Name's Ellie. Ellie Starr. Someone put a hole through you.
Rest easy, mister. I'll put another one in you. You one of Mr. K's boys?
No. But I think the piece of lead in my shoulder belonged to him, though.
Ellie, you got chores.
Aw.
Now. The slug missed the boner. You would have lost that arm. Now, if this came from Mr. K's gun like you say, you gotta be damn lucky. He doesn't miss.
You know him?
He put one of these in my husband's back.
All right, so we have just the tiniest bit of trivia here.
Yes, just the tiniest bit. So much I didn't even realize that was all that we had when I was talking with eye reactions. I'm like, oh, that's all. Okay.
This is it.
Basically, originally Quinn was going to suggest that Remy fake an appendicitis attack to escape. And that's all we got.
Wow.
That's it. Big change.
Whoa,
big change.
Huge. That would have just changed the script entirely.
I know. Whole different show.
Well, you know what this means.
What
It means
does
we
this
have
mean?
plenty of time to do a quick impression.
Okay.
So, cue the music.
Alan Rickman, Sean Connery, a 1940s mobster and a hick, slide in. Well, that was brisk.
I hate the cold. It must have been 80 below back there.
You want to talk cold? Try starting your car up on a winter morning in Detroit. The coat bunches up in the back, leaving some skin showing. You hit that vinyl seat. Whoa! Yeah, now this is more like it. Sean breathes in the fresh air, and they trek off. Did anybody see a water fountain? Or a Pizza Hut? My blood sugar's running a little low.
We better find something soon, because we've got 5 days to the slide. Yeah.
5 days? We could die out here.
Maybe not.
I knew you'd come through, farm boy. So, what you got on your mind? You know how to make an animal snare out of your shoelaces or something?
No. Someone's coming.
And scene. You know what it reminds me of? There was a internet series, Potter puppets or something like that. They were Potter hand puppets, and it was like cartoon, and like that's what it reminds me of. Your Alan Rickman impression. It reminds me of the guy who did the impression of him on there. It was very good. You've never heard of that?
No, I haven't. I might have to check it out.
Yeah, look it up. There's a couple of them. It's very funny, and like the guy who plays Dumbledore is also very funny. Just like there's one scene in particular where Dumbledore just takes off his wizard's robe and he's like, naked time. It's very amusing. You gotta check it out.
Yeah.
Cut! 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 Escape! Quiz escape!
You don't expect me to fall for that, do you? I saw this tricking the man who shot Callie Tar.
Why did you frame me?
Why did you follow me here?
We didn't.
You expect me to believe that in an infinite number of worlds, you just happened to end up on the same one I did?
Look, we released you from the slide cage. Why would we follow you?
Why do you humans do anything? Meddlesome vermin? You can't ever leave well enough alone, can you? You just have to impose your own sense of morality on everyone else.
Okay, let's cut a deal. All right? Now, we have to leave here in a couple of days. I still have the timer. If you set us free, We'll get you off this world.
What makes you think I want to go anywhere? You stranded me on this world. Well, I made the most of it. I'm Mr. K now. My name inspires terror from here to St. Louis.
You sure it's not your face?
It helps.
I'm free to go where I want, take what I want. This world's mine for the picking. It's a good life for a Cro-Mag, and I don't need you around to spoil it. Sorry that to end this way, human. But this town ain't big enough for the both of us. I love saying that.
All right, well, let's get into our discussion of Way Out West.
All right, so we've got a story here, like we said, by Jerry O'Connell, but it was just a story, just a story idea it was written, outlined and everything by Jerry, but Jerry was too busy to actually write the screenplay. Now he was busy, of course, directing, episodes. He was producing, he was acting, and of course, probably the biggest thing, he was also day drinking. So, that cuts into your screenwriting time. So they had to get Black to actually write the screenplay. And that's why it doesn't quite sound like, if you've read Narcotica from the comic books, like we mentioned back in Just Say Yes, if you read Narcotica, Narcotica sounds like Jerry's writing, and this does not sound like that at all. It's much different, a much different voice, and that's because Chris Black wrote the episode.
Yeah, there you go. It is an interesting idea. I do like that, we're getting back to Kolatar.
Yes.
He does reference it in the episode, but, what are the odds that they would end up on the world that he was bounced back to from the slide cage?
Exactly.
In the infinity of worlds
yes.
that are out there. A bit implausible, but, I'm going with it because I think it's a good idea to sort of catch up with this character again and sort of put a rest to it. We'll talk about it when we get towards the end of our discussion.
What about the whole West idea that, this is just like the Guardian? Is time moving slower here or something? And that's why,
Well, I don't think it's time moving slower because, we get the Ben Siegel character. He is Ben Siegel the third.
Right.
So it's not the actual Bugsy Siegel.
Right.
And he also does talk about some sort of dispute that happened in the 70s, which you would assume is the 1970s. So I think it's just more of the world developed at a slower rate. Okay. And even though it's, still 1999, they're still just in the Old West kind of, they haven't developed much further beyond that yet.
Gotcha.
So, which is cool, it's fine for old history, just a less developed world, not unlike where Colin came from. I guess you would assume that it was still, the 1990s there, but again, they had just not developed quite beyond it yet.
So now, when they slide in, they're in the middle of this, vast area, there's, middle of nowhere, and a stagecoach is coming up, all right? Didn't it seem like they were building that up? That was a long shot of that stagecoach coming up and the music and everything. I thought that the person on the stagecoach was going to be someone big, someone different, someone amazing, someone that would be like, oh my gosh, da, da, da. But instead, it's just some guy, that they never see again after that. But it seemed like they were building it up, didn't it? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, it was a really long shot. I mean, it was a weird setup. Sure, they're out in the middle of nowhere. It's probably something that's, going to happen. We don't see it a lot. Usually the vortex opens just in the middle of town or something like that.
Right.
So the fact that they're actually, a ways away from civilization is pretty cool. But yeah, it was a long shot of that stagecoach coming up. But I think the guy playing the driver was pretty good.
Yeah, he was fine.
And the music, it was generic Western music, but it kind of sort of got you into the tone and the theme.
Speaking of the music, I love the part later on when they're in the jail and you hear the harmonica music and you think it's just the scoring. And then Remy looks outside and is like, well, you driving me crazy. Knock that off. That was good. A little breaking of the fourth wall kind of there.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And so we meet this Ben Siegel character.
Now, this is that guy again.
Jay Savone, I think
Yeah.
it's pronounced. And he was in the zombie episode.
What was his name in there? Was it Ben also?
I don't think so. I
can't
can't
remember what they
I
called him.
should have looked it up. but-
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the doctor guy.
Yeah, because in there they never specified his last name. Maybe he was Ben Siegel in that episode too.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it's we were just talking about it in the last episode, the reusing of actors. So
yes,
yeah, it would have been nice to have some sort of crossover. But of course, they do the slow burn on him being the great grandson of Bugsy Siegel.
Yeah.
Or the grandson, I don't
Something
know.
like that. Yeah.
So very slow burn on that.
Right.
Which actually brings me to a question, because later we find out, of course, that he is the grandson of Bugsy Siegel, and that he's in town because they're turning the town into the great gambling capital, Las Vegas.
Right.
Now, I get parallel worlds. Maybe Las Vegas is somewhere near California, like right on California or something.
Right.
In this world. But at the same time, I'm like, why are they in Las Vegas?
Right, yeah.
They should be in either California, LA, or San Francisco, right? It's
Well,
where
it
it's
has-
always. It's either one or the other.
Yeah, it has a 500-mile range or whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just on the very edge, of the 500 miles. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe Las Vegas is going to be in a different place in this world.
I know. That's all I can chalk it up to, is
Yeah.
that maybe Las Vegas is somewhere like right in California on this world.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, now, the stagecoach gets attacked, right? Okay?
Hmm.
And Colin was shot. But, I watched that scene a couple times. I'm like, did he get shot? Or did Remy accidentally knock him off? The way they were moving. I was like, what the heck just happened there? And I watched it a couple times, and I couldn't tell that he was actually shot. All I saw was Remy move his arm back, and Colin, jerked and then fell off the coach. And, eventually we know he was shot. But just the way it was filmed, I couldn't tell that he actually was shot. They didn't do a close-up of, a wound or anything like that, right there at that point. I thought it was funny.
What if it was both? He gets shot, so Remy's like, dead weight, just pushes him off.
Get out of here, man. We gotta get going.
Nobody else is witnessing this except the driver, and I don't know him, so.
Exactly. That's funny.
Yeah, so, the whole setup of Mr. K.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you remember this episode at all? When you got a
No.
close-up of Mr. K's, his face was covered, but did you kind of get that he was Cro-Mag?
The only reason I got it was because when we talked last week, and I said, "Does this have to do with Cro-Mags?"
Oh, of course, right.
So as soon as you said that, and then I was watching it, and they said Mr. K, and they didn't show his face, I'm like, "Oh, that's a Cro-Mag."
So I semi-ruined it.
Yeah, that's all right though. When you semi-ruin season 4 episode of Sliders, you're not really. I mean, you can't really. I mean, can you really ruin it?
That's true.
Anyway, moving on.
So Colin is shot. He falls from the carriage, I guess. He doesn't get pushed. Let's just say that
Right.
Remy didn't push him off.
Yeah.
And they end up in town, this old west town, and they go and see the sheriff. Now, I actually kind of like this idea, because I thought the sheriff character was pretty funny, because he's the sheriff, but he won't help them.
Right.
So they go to try and get some horses, but the sheriff also owns the horses and stuff, and then he also owns the saloon, so he makes a deal.
I bet you he was the Undertaker too that they referenced in the when they first meet him too.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
The office is upstairs. It's the same building. Why not?
Exactly. So
he just owns everything. It's weird because we find out that he's in cahoots with Mr. K,
right,
Kolatar, to get the homesteaders off. So you're just well, man, you already own the whole town. Why do you need the homesteaders as well?
Right.
Whatever, but it was. I just thought it was quite funny. Just every time they needed something and they'd go to get it, it would just turn out that the sheriff owned the business.
Exactly, and he's the judge too. Don't forget.
Yeah, of course. And so he offers them some horses, room and board in exchange for Maggie doing a little evening entertainment for the guys over at the saloon,
right,
in the sexiest way possible.
Yes, which I will say this is appropriate for that time period, because that's what the ladies did, they sang and they dressed, kind of suggestively and whatnot, but definitely, Maggie takes it up a notch because, she's a modern, woman who knows modern dance moves and how to use her body in ways that they didn't quite back in the Old West.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bad progression either. Like, she gets up there and they give her some lyrics that she sings, what was it, Camptown Races or something?
Yes.
And then the next time we cut back to her, she's singing the song Tight Pants and rubbing up against everyone. You're just like, wow, she's really getting into it.
That song, I looked it up. And there's actually another song called Tight Pants written, I forget by who, but there's actually a song out there called Tight Pants. Not this version. This was something that she wrote, I guess, just for this episode, because she was a singer, like we mentioned last time, in the last episode. She was a singer, and she did put out an album with songs on it. I don't think this one was on there, but she wrote this song. It says written by, I saw on one website, I forget where it was, they had the lyrics and said written by Kari Wuhrer. Interesting song, I guess. Yeah.
So our listeners shouldn't hold out hope that before we wrap up our complete series rewatch that you're going to do a rendition of Tight Pants.
An acoustic version, yeah. I don't know about that. You never know. Stranger things have happened. So you never know, but we'll see. Stay tuned. You got to keep listening to find out.
Exactly. Maybe we'll do it on the very last episode.
Or maybe we'll do it on the very next to last episode. See, just to throw things off so you'll be like, what?
Yeah. Could
You'll
pop
never
up
know.
anytime.
Exactly. Musical stylings of Tom Stitzer. Anyway.
Yeah. So in the meantime, Colin is rescued by this teenage girl, Ellie, and her mother, whose name is Amanda, randomly. Isn't that also the name of Colin and Quinn's mother?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Amanda Mallory, yep.
So yeah, it's weird that they would just throw in another mother character who's called Amanda.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure what her name was. I missed it, and then I just called her mother, in the
Yeah,
synopsis.
well, again, it's like IMDb.
Right.
Because they don't really define her name.
Right.
I think they mentioned it at some point. I never actually caught it in the episode.
Right.
And the whole plot with Mr. K of getting the homesteaders off their property. This is like a very common thing in old American Westerns.
Right.
Of the gangs, trying to get the homesteaders to leave for whatever reason. So, it's a good enough plot. The reveal of Mr. K being Kolatar from the slide cage I thought was really cool. Like I said, I loved getting back to this character to see what he did. When they talk to him about we can help you out, maybe we can take you to another world or something like that. He's like, why would I want to leave?
Right.
I have respect here. I just take what I want whenever I want. How about you guys just leave and leave me to it?
I thought it was interesting he didn't remember Maggie at first. It took a while. It took seeing Colin to jog his memory. I was like, well, I guess. Maybe we would assume that it was just a double, I guess, of Maggie, and didn't pay her much mind.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. As if he did recognize her, but just mistook her for a double or something like that.
Right, exactly. But once he sees Colin, then it's kind of like, oh, wait a second. No. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, that could have been played out a bit more.
Well, we learned that the sheriff and Ben are in league with Kolatar, and Kolatar goes off to threaten Ellie and Amanda again. I guess he's been doing this, ever since her husband, Amanda's husband, got killed. So he goes back, Kolatar goes back again to try to get the land deed, but Colin comes out with his awesome gun skills.
Yeah, have we seen Colin actually use a gun before?
No.
I think there's a couple episodes where they put a gun in his hand.
Right.
But I don't think he ever actually shot. So I think this is the first time we're actually learning that he's pretty much a crack shot.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, and he really doesesn't like doing it as well. So it's
right.
He's got morals and stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if they're trying to deepen the character or something.
I believe so. This episode was heavy on Colin.
Yeah, of course, the world sort of being in that realm of where he's from as well.
Right. Yep.
When the carriage pulled up and he had a good story to tell the driver.
Yeah.
Our horse got snake bit and blah, blah, blah. It was a pretty funny story too, saying like that happened to him on prom night or something.
Yeah. It was.
So yeah, you know, you're putting Colin in his element.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, you know, the fact that he helps this this family, you find out that Kolotar had actually killed the husband because he was unwilling to use a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And of course him like sort of, I guess, teaching Ellie about like, you know, you should never be proud about taking a life.
Right.
And so on, you know, it's like a very like family friendly kind of moment.
Well, the thing that he said at one point, guns don't solve problems or something like that. It was like, it was some kind of line like that. Like the gun, you know, guns don't solve problems, or you can't use a gun to solve a problem, something like that. But then at the end, like there's a showdown and he kind of does solve the problem with a gun. It's like, you know, that kind of goes back in what you said. Yeah, you know, you shouldn't be proud of taking a life, which you didn't take a life. Of course, you shot him in the shoulder. But still, you know, it's like the gun sort of did solve the problem here. Just saying, Colin, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you could look at it like he's saying that to make sure that she, a child,
well, of course,
doesn't use guns. But yeah, immediately after saying this stuff, he's picking up a gun. He's shooting Kolotar's men to get rid of them. You know, later, Remy and Quinn are being hanged. He uses the gun to snag the rope and shoot more people. And it's like, he's just shooting that gun up all over the place.
Yeah, but don't worry. You shouldn't use a gun to solve problems, okay? Find another way. Well, I mean, you know, it's a whole parent thing. You know, that's what you do. You tell your kids, don't do as I, you know, do as I say, not as I do, you know?
And then the whole thing with Kolotar using his mind manipulation techniques to make everyone see him as Quinn, and then he goes and murders a guy.
Right. Well, see, that's the thing that bugs me. It's like, did he use the mind manipulation? No, he did the shape-shifting. This was a shape-shifting thing, you know? Because, you know, like when they showed that episode where, I forget, what was it? The breeder episode, when he uses his mind manipulation to make people think he's a general, and the whole swiping of the blank card or whatever. You know, that one we knew that he was using his mind to sort of make them think he was someone else. But this one, you know, he goes out of the saloon and you could see him. He actually does transform into Kolotar again. So they're doing the shape shifting again. I wish they would stick to just the mind thing. I don't like the shape shifting Cro-Mag thing.
Yeah, I'm going to chalk it up to it's all just the mind manipulation because, like, when he changes, you see him physically change back into Kolotar.
Right.
But, like, the clothes change and everything.
Yes,
I'm like,
exactly.
You know, I got really annoyed about that at the end with Rickman.
Yes.
Remember when he was changing his face and he, like, generated a bandana for some reason?
Yes.
So I'm chalking the whole thing up to just, it's mind manipulation, and this is just a visual representation of him ending that mind manipulation.
I'll go with that then. Because that makes me happier. That makes me happier.
Yeah, I don't want to think that they can actually shapeshift.
Right.
Because it's not working. So the sheriff ends up being the judge, like you mentioned, and he just sentences them to hang. But, you know, Quinn and Remy have this whole thing like, yeah, we've got the benefit of having seen like every Western film ever.
Right.
So, yeah, I'll hide up here and then you say that I've escaped and then they'll come in and we'll pounce down on you. Yeah, that old trick. But unfortunately, Kolotar shows up. And he says something like, I saw this in that movie, The Man Who Shot what was it, like Kalasar or something?
Yeah, whatever.
Like, some weird Cro-Mag name.
I'm like, really?
Hey, you know, Cro-Mags are just from like a differently evolved human race on a parallel world. Then maybe they did do some cinema and have their own version of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
I'm saying no, they did not. They're a war race. They didn't have time for entertainment like that. There's no way. Forget it. It was just one of those little things they like to put in, you know.
Yeah, you know, and they dropped the stuff too about how they've started to use the lingo. You know, Quinn's calling the sheriff Yeller.
Oh my God, yeah, and
and as Kolotar walks away from the jail cell, he says, "This town ain't big enough for the two of us."
Yeah,
I love saying that. I thought it was a good touch, you know, just throwing in all these old Western references.
I suppose.
But then acknowledging that they've, you know, it's catching.
cheap. Yeah,
you know,
it's
as Kolatar
cheesy.
says later, it's catching. You can't
Yeah.
help but do it. I got a smile on my face when I hear it. I think it's funny.
I get like I just do an eye roll. See, that's my smile on the face is for a different reason. I'm like, oh boy.
And then they do a bait and switch on us.
Yes.
Because you figure that Ben is, because he's in league with Mr. Kane, the sheriff,
Right.
that he's a bad guy, but he actually turns out to be a pretty good guy.
Yeah, very good guy.
He's
He has
just like,
some morals.
my grandfather used to do things that way. I'm
Mhm.
not that person.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
he
I thought that was
helps
a good
out
turn.
Maggie. Yeah. And she gets with Colin. They go and rescue Quinn and Remy. But Ellie's taken off
Yes.
with the gun.
Of course.
So we get this standoff with Kolatar and the Sliders.
Yes, it's just like the other Western episode we have, where the boy takes the gun and faces off and
Right,
doesn't
yeah.
shoot the guy. You know? Same thing.
Exactly. And Kolatar has actually come around to wanting the timer.
Yes.
He has decided that he will leave, you know. He doesn't want the Sliders on his ass. He's not buying that they have just randomly slid here, which they have.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants the timer, and they hand it over. And then for some reason, Kolatar challenges Colin to a duel.
Yes.
Colin wins.
Dumb
He doesn't
idea.
kill Kolatar. And then some random woman gallops in on a horse from nowhere, swings up Kolatar, and he, fortunately enough, randomly drops the timer. And then that's the end.
None of that's convenient at all, just so we know. Now, I will say the random woman, she was in the scene earlier. I don't know if you noticed her earlier. She was in one of the scenes earlier with him, with Kolatar. I forget what scene it was, but she was next to him, and I got the impression that she was his floozy or whatever, you know?
Yeah, just like some hag that hangs on his shoulders. or
But
something.
apparently, you know, maybe she has a whole nother story. She can ride a horse and pick up Kolatar pretty quickly on it, you know. So she has her own story that we never learned about. Someone needs to write a fanfic about that woman. A fanfic with that woman meeting Punk Wade, I think, would fulfill everybody's dreams.
Well, how did you feel about it? The fact that, I mean, like, all the convenience aside, the fact that he drops the timer, the fact that, you know, the woman comes in and saves him, all that stuff. Put
Well,
that
I
aside. How did you feel that, like, he wasn't killed at the end or anything like that, and he just sort of rode off into the sunset, as it were?
Well, I think that's dumb because he can just come back, you know? I mean, just because they took care of that problem, I mean, he can come back and he can go threaten them again or threaten a whole nother community, you know? He doesn't have to stay right there. He can go somewhere else. I mean, the bad guy lives. He's safe, you know? Like, he's shot in the shoulder. He'll recover, and he'll come back, and he'll do again. I don't know. I thought it was
it did seem like he ran a gang as well. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He could just go to his gang now and just bring back reinforcements.
Exactly. So I'm like, I mean, it's not a tidy, happy ending, so good on that, but still, you know, in the Old West tradition, maybe he should have died. But then, you know, you're not teaching the right lesson to Ellie, I guess. Because he shot him in the shoulder when he could have shot him in the heart. But, you know, so I don't know.
And then there's this whole thing about how the sheriff is no longer sheriff.
Right.
They make Ben the sheriff, which, I don't know, does that even really matter? Because the sheriff owns, like, a lot of businesses in the town, so it's not like
Right.
he's going anywhere.
Well,
He's just not the sheriff anymore.
Well, yeah, there'll be more. I'm sure that they're going to get rid of those other businesses as well, you know, because of what he was doing. They'll string him up and run him out of town or something.
But then it turns out that the homesteaders were happy to sell. Like, they didn't have to be run off their land. They're happy to just sell.
Oh, yeah.
In exchange for profits from the casinos.
Why not? You know?
Because they feel like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. Let's do that.
Exactly. I don't need this land that much.
If I can make that much money, go
Exactly.
for it. So it was all for naught on their part, making them look like a bunch of idiots.
And then, of course, we get one last show from Maggie.
Tight pants. Yeah.
Thank goodness. Hadn't heard enough of that song yet.
Yeah. Working them moneymakers.
Exactly.
So, I think all in all, it was fine. I liked the Western thing, getting back to Kolatar, sort of letting that play out. It was a serviceable episode.
I'm kind of meh on both of them. I'm just like, yeah, they're okay. They're not the worst that we've seen, you know? It's not like people are eating, radioactive worm crap, but, it's not exactly, The Guardian, or any first season episode,
You're saying this is like middle road. It's
middle road.
We've seen worse.
Yes, we've seen worse, but we've also seen better. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Middle of the road.
You people make me ornerier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. Sorry it's catching around here.
Let her go.
I had a good thing going here. Nice, steady income. Travel. I'm my own boss. You had 1,000,000 other worlds where you could go to. Why couldn't you just leave this one to me?
We didn't come here on purpose. But now that we're here, we just can't walk away. We can't just leave.
I was afraid you might feel that way. So I guess I'll just have to hit the trail. Find another world to put down roots on. And since I don't need you dogging me every step of the way, I'm gonna have to ask you for your sliding device. I'm afraid I must insist.
Give it to him.
You got anything else under there?
All right, well, let's check out some messages in time.
All right, so for this episode, some people were not liking Maggie singing. They're like, ugh, I turned off the episode. But most say it wasn't too bad,
It was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. They say, they weren't sure that if she was an actual singer or was that someone overdubbing. And like we said, she was a singer. And I guess what iReaction said, he found reviews or something, and they likened her voice to like a poor man's Alanis Morissette or something like that. Which, you know what? That's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
Alanis Morissette,
I like Alanis.
Yeah, she's a good singer. And if someone says, you sound like her, just a little bit different, it's like, I'll take that. I'll take that.
And I reckon it was Carrie Ware singing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I have no doubt that it was all her.
Right. Well, this is the early days of the internet when we didn't have all the information that we had today.
Yeah.
The wild west of the internet, so to speak. They said Colin did good. The focus was on him. He really works good as a gunfighter. It fits his character. And I agree. He did a good job. I wasn't like normally when he acts certain ways, his delivery, I'm not real impressed with. It takes me out of the episode. This one was good. I didn't notice it.
Yeah, I agree. It was a bit more solid. He wasn't being like a dimwit or a fool.
Exactly.
He wasn't having to put on a shocking Italian Bronx accent. So
yeah, someone said that it looks like a fun episode, at least to film. Looks like they had a good time doing it, which it did. Maggie dressing up and doing her, saloon dance, and then someone was debating. Maybe I could just give up cable, because I bought this, I bought this package with the Sci-Fi channel because Sliders was going to be on it. But do I really need the extra $10 a month? Maybe I could just give it up. Maybe I'll just give it up. It's like, well, okay, there you go. Not exactly an endorsement there, but all right. So we go to messages in time for Data World. One guy gave out a whole synopsis about what happened, and he goes, and there you go. That's the episode, everything that happened. And then someone responded, said, you just forgot one thing. It sucked. I was like, oh, wow. All right. Don't mince your words. Someone, like what I said, is hating that hotel. They're like, damn that hotel. I hope it burns to the ground next season. They're getting tired of seeing the same set again and again. And I agree,
Yeah, I mean, it was good to start with that they had this, base that they could go back to if they get lost, but yeah, I mean, we mentioned why we're seeing the Chandler so much.
Oh yeah,
because of the set and blah blah blah.
Yep.
But yeah, they're really going back to it a lot.
Oh yes. Collectively, everyone that saw the episode they just didn't really like it. It was not what they wanted to see. So understandable. Basically, they got flamed pretty bad for this episode. And then Mac, the actor who played Mac, he was actually the guy who played in Troll. Do you remember that movie Troll?
Yeah, I saw Troll.
His character name in there was Malcolm Mallory. So we have another Mallory. in the realm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting little side.
Yes, exactly.
All right. And messages from Earth Prime.
Yes, we got some iTunes reviews.
Yay!
Yeah. So let me go in here because it's not. I had to take a screenshot in order to see these. So I went and into the other iTunes stores that you can go to. You can switch the store you're looking at. So I went into the one for the UK, and cool. we were told. Who told us last time? Intangible?
Yeah, it was Intangible.
So here's his review, the rewatch. I'll have you know the only reason I'm going near the iTunes store with a 10-foot pole is because your podcast is actually worth it. That in itself should be enough of a recommendation. Also, I can apparently only review you from iTunes UK. Grr, bah, arg, etc. Anyway, you guys are hilarious, thoughtful, you have great professional attitude in mixing, and it's just so good to hear a thorough treatment of Sliders from people who love it. I'm going to be sad when you guys finish up with Sliders. It's been a blast.
Ah, that's sweet.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You know, just sort of giving a little future insight, maybe just to drop a little hint.
Mm-hmm.
We are definitely not going to be done once we're done with Sliders.
Oh, yes.
There will be a future for the Rewatch podcast.
There will be another. Okay, and we've got another review here from North of Eden. They said, thank you for doing this. I just discovered your podcast and grateful for you covering one of the better non-Star Trek sci-fi shows out there. Enjoying your discussion and analysis. Keep up the good work. So thank you, North of Eden.
Yes, and we will keep up the good work.
Yep.
We are doing the good work. No, really, we do appreciate the iTunes review, guys, and keep them coming. Like I said, we'll try our best to find every last one of them and give you a shout out here in our messages from Earth Prime segment.
Yeah, I tried looking for other countries as well. You know, because you can do that in the iTunes app. There, you can switch your country up, and I tried. No one from Ethiopia has given us a review yet.
We're not too big in Africa.
Not too big in Africa. I looked up Senegal. It just seems to be here in the U.S. and UK right now. So. There's no one in Australia either. What's going on? Come on, man.
What's up, my Aussie brethren? Jeez. All right. Well, I was about to say next week's episodes, but not next week's.
Not next week. That's right.
We're going to be taking a couple of weeks off because it's the holiday season. It's
jingle bells, jingle bells.
Yes.
Exactly.
We're going to spend some time with our families, maybe do a bit of traveling.
Yes.
And we'll be back in the new year.
Yeah, so you got a couple of weeks off from us, It's a perfect chance for you to go back and rewatch or re-listen to some of our old episodes because we're just so awesome like that.
Yeah, maybe go back to season 1
there
and
you
2. Go. And the ones where we were really passionate about how good they were.
Yeah, there you go.
The old days.
Back in the day.
Yes. But of course, there are still 4 more episodes left in season 4.
Yes.
So that's 2 more episodes of the podcast to cover season 4.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be back with the first episode of the new year. We'll be covering My Brother's Keeper and The Chasm.
And again, I don't know. I have no idea about either of them.
I kind of remember The Chasm.
Not me. I got nothing. I got nothing for you.
Oh, well.
Okay, that's it for this episode of the Rewatch Podcast. Keep up with listener interaction by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast and follow the show on Twitter at rewatchpod. You can visit our webpage at rewatchpodcast.podomatic.com, which has some of our favorite links there, such as Dimension of Continuity, Earth Prime, and the active forum over at sliders.tv.
And as always, you can write us an email or record a voice message and send it to therewatchpodcast@gmail.com. And again, you got a few weeks, guys, so yeah, maybe spend a bit of that time, put together some feedback, send it on over.
Yes.
Love to hear from you. And if you've enjoyed the show, please consider giving us a rate and review on iTunes. We love those reviews, and like I mentioned, we love to read them out.
Exactly. Where are our Zimbabwe listeners? Come on, Zimbabwe.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Tom.
Yep.
Have a happy and safe holiday and New Year.
Yep, you as well.
And we'll be back in 2016. So I will just say, until next time, are your chaps hurting as much as mine are?
Oh, ouch, yes. We gotta slide.
The Rewatch podcast is not associated with NBC Universal, St. Clair Entertainment, Fox, or Sci-Fi Channel. The use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes, as provided in United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Copyright 2015, The Rewatch Podcast.